Maybe they're right, Borum said quietly. Maybe, Una agreed. But with the Council enforcement fleet arrived exactly on time. 300 ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Telonis 7 system, their hulls gleaming in the light of the distant sun. They arranged themselves in perfect formation, a display of overwhelming power meant to intimidate any opposition. Admiral Una stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and watched them come. Her 28 ships looked tiny compared to the massive Council fleet, but she wasn't worried. She had fought in worse odds before, and she had always found a way to win. "They're hailing us," Hana reported from the communication station. "Put them through." The face of High Admiral Tornvik appeared on the screen. He was a Kaldorian, a species from a Class 3 world. He looked like a tall reptile with smooth blue skin and intelligent eyes. He wore the ornate uniform of the Council's highest military rank. "Admiral Una," he said in a voice that expected obedience. "I am High Admiral Tornvik, commander of the Council Enforcement Fleet. You and your allies are ordered to stand down immediately and withdraw from this system. You have violated Council law and must face judgment." "We're not going anywhere," Una said calmly. "Telonis 7 is under our protection." Tornvik's eyes narrowed. "You have 28 ships. I have 300. This is not a fight you can win. Surrender now and I promise you will be treated fairly. Define fairly. You will be taken back to Council space for trial. If you cooperate, your sentences may be reduced." Una laughed. "You want us to surrender so you can punish us for saving innocent lives. That's your idea of justice. You broke the law. Laws exist for a reason. Your laws exist to maintain your power," Una said. "We've seen the truth about the Council. We know about the harvest worlds, the genetic modifications, the slaves. Your entire system is built on oppression." Tornvik's face showed no emotion. "The Council has maintained galactic peace for 10,000 years. Occasionally difficult decisions must be made for the greater good." "Difficult decisions," Una repeated. "Is that what you call letting slavers raid helpless colonies? Difficult decisions? The weak must be managed. It is the price of stability. Then your stability can burn." Una leaned forward. "Here's my counteroffer. You turn your fleet around and leave. Go back to the Council and tell them that Telonis 7 and every other harvest world is now under Deathworlder protection. Any attempt to raid these worlds will be met with force. That is not acceptable. Then we have nothing more to discuss." Una cut the transmission. She activated the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Admiral Una. Battle stations. They're not leaving peacefully." Across the Deathworlder fleet, crews rushed to their positions. Weapons powered up. Shields activated. Engines warmed to full power. 28 ships prepared to face 300. On the Retribution, Captain Minho coordinated the human squadron. 12 ships against an empire. He looked at his bridge crew and saw determination on every face. Nobody looked scared. Maybe they should have been, but humans had never been good at knowing when to be afraid. "Tactical analysis," he ordered. Tactical Officer Hyun pulled up a display of the Council fleet. "They're maintaining formation. Standard Council battle doctrine. They'll advance slowly, overwhelming us with coordinated fire. They expect us to break and run. Then let's not do what they expect. Engineering, can we pull off the slingshot maneuver?" Engineer Jinwoo checked his readouts. "Telonis 7's moon is in position. We can use its gravity to accelerate asteroids to near-relativistic speeds. But the timing has to be perfect." "How perfect?" "Within milliseconds. If we're off by even a fraction of a second, we'll miss." Captain Minho looked at Science Officer Sora. "Can you do the calculations in real time?" Sora's hands were already moving across her keyboard. "I can do it. But I'll need complete sensor data from all our ships. The asteroids' trajectories will be affected by every gravitational field in the system. You'll have it." The Council fleet began to advance. They moved slowly and steadily, maintaining their perfect formation. High Admiral Tornvik had fought 50 battles in his career and won every one. He knew how to use superior numbers effectively, but he had never fought Deathworlders before. Admiral Una gave the order. "All ships, scatter formation. Execute evasive pattern Omega." The 28 Deathworlder ships suddenly broke apart, flying in different directions with wild, unpredictable movements. The Council fleet tried to track them, but Deathworlder ships were fast and maneuverable in ways Council vessels couldn't match. The Virex ships dived toward the planet, using its gravity to slingshot themselves at incredible speeds. Their heavy hulls, built to survive crushing gravity, shrugged off the forces that would tear normal ships apart. The Thule ships flew straight into a radiation field that surrounded one of the system's gas giants. Council sensors lost track of them immediately, but the Thule didn't need sensors. They could feel radiation like humans felt sunlight. The Norak ships flew close to the system's sun, their heat-resistant hulls absorbing energy that would cook any other species. They used the sun's magnetic field to mask their approach, and the human ships did what humans did best. They improvised. All human vessels begin asteroid collection, Minho ordered. Sora, start calculating trajectories. The 12 human ships flew to the system's asteroid belt and began pushing space rocks toward Talanis 7's moon. They used tractor beams and gentle thruster pushes, carefully positioning each asteroid for maximum effect. Sora worked faster than she had ever worked in her life. She tracked 300 Council ships, calculated gravitational fields from 4 planets and 3 moons, and computed intercept trajectories for 17 asteroids. The math was insane, the variables were endless, and she did it all in less than 10 minutes. Asteroids positioned, she reported. Trajectories calculated. We're ready. Fire, Minho ordered. The human ships used their tractor beams to throw asteroids toward the moon. The massive rocks fell toward the satellite, picking up speed as gravity pulled them down. Just before impact, the moon's gravity bent their trajectory, sending them flying back into space at incredible velocities. Science Officer Sora had calculated each trajectory perfectly. The asteroids flew through space like bullets, each one aimed at a different Council ship. The first asteroid hit a Council cruiser at a significant fraction of light speed. The impact released energy equivalent to a nuclear weapon. The cruiser simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant. 14 more asteroids found their targets. 15 Council ships destroyed in less than a minute. High Admiral Tornevik stared at his tactical display in shock. What just happened? They weaponized asteroids, his tactical officer said. They used the moon's gravity as a slingshot. That's impossible. The calculations alone would take hours. Apparently not for them, sir. The Council fleet tried to regroup, but the Deathworlders weren't giving them time. The Vrek ships emerged from behind the planet, their heavy cannons firing with devastating accuracy. Each shot was calculated based on high-gravity physics that made their weapons hit harder than any Council armament. The Thule ships appeared from the radiation field, their weapons charged with energy they had absorbed from the deadly environment. They fired beams of concentrated radiation that bypassed Council shields entirely. The Norak ships came from the sun like demons made of fire. Their weapons were plasma cannons that burned at temperatures that could melt steel. Council ships that got hit by those beams simply came apart, their hulls unable to withstand the heat. And through it all, the human ships darted and weaved, taking shots at Council vessels and then disappearing before return fire could hit them. They flew like pilots possessed, pulling maneuvers that should have killed the crews but didn't. Humans had evolved with excellent spatial awareness and an inner ear designed to handle complex movement. They could fly through 3-dimensional space better than species that had evolved in gentle environments. The Council fleet was in chaos. They had expected a simple battle. Show up, demonstrate superior numbers, and accept the enemy's surrender. Instead, they were being torn apart by ships that fought with a ferocity and creativity they had never encountered. Commander Doyen watched the battle from the planet's surface. He had wanted to be in space, fighting alongside his fellow humans, but someone had to protect the colony in case Council ships got through. He stood in the command center with his Marines, watching the tactical display and cheering every time a Council ship went down. They're actually winning, Tor said beside him. The young Velrin had refused to leave Doyun's side, wanting to see how real warriors fought. Of course they're winning, Doyun said. They're Deathworlders. In space, the battle was turning into a rout. The Council fleet had lost 40 ships and hadn't destroyed a single Deathworlder vessel. High Admiral Tornvik realized with growing horror that he was losing. His perfect battle record was about to be shattered by a force a tenth his size. All ships concentrate fire on the human flagship, he ordered. If we can destroy their admiral, the rest will fall apart. 50 Council ships turned their weapons toward the Vengeance. Admiral Yuna saw them coming and smiled. They thought killing her would end the fight. They didn't understand Deathworlders at all. All ships protect the flagship, she ordered. But she already knew her. 3 days after Admiral Yuna broadcast the evidence across the galaxy, everything changed. Captain Minho was in his quarters trying to sleep when Hana's voice came through the speaker. Captain, you need to get to the bridge. Now. Minho was on the bridge in less than a minute. What is it? Hana pointed at her screen. We're receiving messages from all over the galaxy. Thousands of them. Species we've never heard of are contacting us. What do they want? They're thanking us. They're telling us their own stories of raids and attacks. And, sir, 3 of them want to meet with Admiral Yuna. They're coming here. Admiral Yuna arrived on the Retribution a few hours later. She stood on the bridge with Minho and watched 3 ships approach the system. They were unlike anything humans had seen before. The first ship was massive and blocky, built from metal that looked almost black. The second ship glowed with a strange blue light, its hull covered in what looked like ice. The third ship was red and angular, radiating heat that the sensors could detect from thousands of miles away. They're hailing us, Hana said. All 3 at once. Put them through, Yuna ordered. 3 faces appeared on the screen. The first was a creature with 4 arms and rocky gray skin that looked like stone. The second looked like it was made of crystal and ice, its body translucent and beautiful. The third was covered in scales that shifted between red and orange like fire-made flesh. I am Commander Borum of the Vrex, said the rocky one. His voice was deep and slow. We come from a world of high gravity and crushing pressure. The Council calls us Deathworlders. They have kept us isolated for 300 years. I am Elder Tewan of the Thule, said the crystalline one. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. We evolved in radiation fields that would kill most species. The Council told us we were too dangerous for peaceful contact. I am War Leader Dahyun of the Norak, said the fiery one. His voice crackled like flames. Our world has temperature swings of 200 degrees. We live in what others call hell. The Council feared what we might do if we ever left our system. Admiral Yuna looked at the 3 alien species and smiled. Welcome to Telonis 7. I'm Admiral Yuna, commander of Earth's 3rd Deathworlder fleet. You said the Council kept you isolated? Yes, Borum said. They told us that other species found us frightening, that our presence would disturb galactic peace. They gave us trade agreements and technology, but they would not let us leave our home systems. They lied to you, Yuna said, just like they lied to everyone else. The Council doesn't fear that you'll disturb the peace. They fear that you'll disturb their control. We know that now, Taewon said. We received your broadcast. We saw the evidence. For centuries, we believed the Council was protecting us and protecting others from us. Now we understand the truth. So why are you here? Minho asked. Daehyun leaned forward, his scales glowing brighter. Because you did something no one else has done in 10,000 years. You stood up to the Council. You fought for species weaker than yourself, and you're still alive. We want to stand with you, Borum said. If you'll have us. Yuna looked at the 3 species, then at Minho. He nodded. They needed allies, and these species understood what it meant to be called dangerous just for being strong. We'll have you, Yuna said, but you need to understand what you're agreeing to. The Council is coming. They're bringing their enforcement fleet. 300 warships. They're going to try to crush us and make an example of anyone who defies them. Good, Daehyun said with a grin that showed sharp teeth. We're tired of hiding. Over the next 2 days, the 3 alien species sent ships to join the human fleet. The Vrex brought their heavy cruisers, built to withstand gravity that would crush normal ships. The Thule brought their radiation ships powered by energy that most species couldn't even detect. The Norak brought their heat ships, engines burning at temperatures that would melt standard hulls. Diplomatic Officer Minji coordinated the meeting between all 4 species. It was the first time Deathworlders had gathered together in galactic history. She organized it in the Retribution's main hangar, which was large enough to hold representatives from all the ships. Minji was a small woman with a kind face, but she had been a diplomat for 15 years. She knew how to handle difficult negotiations. This one might be the most important of her life. Thank you all for coming, she said to the assembled group. There were humans, Vrex, Thule, and Norak all standing together. We're here to form an alliance. Not for conquest, not for revenge, but for protection. Protection of whom? Asked a Vrex captain. Anyone who needs it, Minji said. The Velrin, other weak species that the Council has abandoned, and ourselves. The Council has maintained power by keeping strong species separated. They made sure we never met, never talked, never realized we could work together. That ends now. What do you propose? Taewon asked. A formal alliance. The Deathworlder Coalition. Any species can request our protection. In return, they must agree to learn to defend themselves. We're not going to create dependencies. We're going to create partners. The discussions went late into the night. There were disagreements about structure and leadership. The Vrex wanted a military hierarchy. The Thule preferred a council of elders. The Norak believed in trial by combat for leadership positions. In the end, they compromised. Each species would govern itself, but they would coordinate on military matters. Admiral Yuna would lead the coalition's naval forces, but major decisions would require agreement from all 4 species. While the diplomats talked, Tactical Officer Hyun worked on preparing for battle. He was a thin man with sharp eyes who saw patterns others missed. He had studied every battle the Council had fought in the last 100 years. Looking for weaknesses, what he found was disturbing. "Admiral," he said, bringing his report to Yuna. "The Council enforcement fleet is massive, but it's not designed for real war." "What do you mean?" Yuna asked. "They haven't fought a real battle in centuries. Most of their fleet is for show. They fly in perfect formations, follow strict protocols, and overwhelm opponents with numbers. But they've never faced an enemy that fights back effectively. And we do. We do. All 4 of our species evolved fighting. The Council species evolved in safe environments. They're good at ceremonies and parades. We're good at war." Yuna studied the tactical analysis. Hyun was right. The Council had 300 ships, but they were crewed by species that had never known real danger. Meanwhile, every human, Frex, Thule, and Norak, had ancestors who had survived by being better at violence than everything else on their planet. "How many ships do we have now?" Yuna asked. 28. 12 human, 8 Frex, 5 Thule, and 3 Norak. 28 against 300. Yuna smiled. They should bring more. On the planet below, Commander Doyen continued training Velrin volunteers. They were getting better. The first few days, they could barely hold a rifle without dropping it. Now they could hit targets at 50 meters. It wasn't good, but it was progress. A young Velrin male named Tor approached him during a break. "Commander, why are you doing this?" "Training us, I mean. You could just protect us yourselves." Doyen sat down on a crate and gestured for Tor to sit beside him. "Because we won't always be here. We'll help you rebuild, and we'll fight off the Council if they come. But eventually you need to be able to defend yourselves." "But we're weak. The Council made us weak." "You're only weak because you believe you are," Doyen said. "Your genetics were changed, yes. But that doesn't mean you can't be strong. It just means it will be harder. You'll have to work more, train more, push yourself more. But it's possible." "How do you know?" Doyen smiled. "Because humans weren't always the strongest either. 10,000 years ago we were prey. We were hunted by animals bigger and faster than us. But we learned to work together. We learned to make tools. We learned to be smart when we couldn't be strong. And eventually, we became the hunters instead of the hunted." Tor looked at his 4 hands. They were thin and weak, nothing like the powerful limbs of the humans. "It will take a long time." "Yes," Doyen agreed. "It will take generations. But you have to start somewhere. And you're starting now." That night, Captain Minho received a message from Earth. It was from the Human Defense Council, the civilian government that oversaw all of humanity's military forces. The message was short. "Council Enforcement Fleet has left Council space. Estimated arrival at your position in 4 days. You are ordered to withdraw immediately. You cannot win this fight." Minho deleted the message without responding. He wasn't withdrawing. None of them were. Admiral Yuna gathered all the ship captains for a final meeting before the battle. Humans, Vrex, Thule, and Norak commanders filled the briefing room, an incredible mix of species that had never worked together before. "In 4 days, the Council will be here," Yuna said. "They're bringing 300 ships. They expect us to run. They expect us to be afraid. Are we afraid?" asked a Norak captain. Yuna looked around the room at all the faces. Different species, different worlds, but all of them warriors. All of them survivors. All of them angry at the injustice they had discovered. "Maybe a little," she admitted. "But we're here anyway. Because sometimes being afraid and doing it anyway is what makes you brave. The Council thinks we're dangerous. They think we're violent. They think we're everything that's wrong with the galaxy." Admiral Yuna stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and made a decision that would change the galaxy. She opened a channel to all her ships. "This is Admiral Yuna to all vessels of the Third Fleet. I am declaring Telonis 7 under human protection. We are not leaving until these people are safe and their world is secure. Any ship that approaches without permission will be considered hostile. That includes Council ships. Captain Minho listened to the announcement from the Retribution and nodded. It was the right call, even if it meant trouble. The Council would not be happy about humans claiming a planet in their territory. He didn't have to wait long to find out. Within 6 hours, a Council ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. It was a diplomatic vessel, sleek and white, covered in the symbols of peace. A message came through immediately. Human vessels, this is Envoy Kessler of the Galactic Council. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. Your presence here violates 17 Council statutes. You have no authority to. Minho cut off the transmission. He had no interest in listening to bureaucrats lecture him about rules while civilians were dying. Instead, he sent a message back. Envoy Kessler, this is Captain Minho of the UES Retribution. We received a distress call from this colony 2 weeks ago. The same distress call you received. We came to help. Where were you? There was a long pause before the envoy responded. The Council was preparing an appropriate response in accordance with proper procedures. You cannot simply invade a system because we didn't invade. We rescued. Come down to the planet and see for yourself what we found. While the diplomats argued, Engineer Jinwoo worked in the Retribution's computer lab. He had taken all the data Sora had stolen from the Kreth ships and was analyzing it carefully. What he discovered made his hands shake. Captain, he said over the communication link, you need to get down here right now. Minho left the bridge and went to the lab. Jinwoo looked exhausted. He had been working for 18 hours straight, reading through files and following data connections. His screens were covered with charts and graphs. Tell me you found something good, Minho said. I found something. I don't know if good is the right word. Jinwoo pulled up a file. The Kreth didn't just have Council codes. They had a complete database of every species in Council space. It's organized by homeworld classification. What does that mean? Every planet in the galaxy is rated by how dangerous it is. Class 1 planets are paradise worlds with no predators, perfect weather, and plenty of food. Class 9 planets are hell worlds where everything tries to kill you. Earth is classified as Class 9. Minho had heard this before. Earth was considered one of the most dangerous planets in known space. It was why humans were called Deathworlders. So what? He asked. We already knew that. But look at this. Jinwoo pulled up another file. The Kreth have orders to only raid species from Class 1 through 4 planets. Species that evolved in easy environments. Weak species. Meanwhile, species from Class 7 through 9 are marked as off-limits. Too dangerous. The Council is protecting strong species and letting weak ones get raided. It's not just that. Jinwoo's voice was shaking now. I found medical records. The Velrin weren't always this weak. 2,000 years ago, they had a warrior culture. They were explorers and fighters. But look at their genetics now. He showed Minho a genetic comparison. The modern Velrin had been modified somehow. Their muscles were weaker. Their reflexes were slower. Even their brains produced less adrenaline. Someone has been changing them, Minho said slowly, making them weaker. The Council has, Jinwoo said. I found the records. It's called the Pacification Program. The Council identifies aggressive species and offers them genetic treatments. They claim it's to reduce violence and make species more peaceful, but really they're creating victims. Minho felt cold. How many species? 47 that I can confirm. Probably more. At that moment, Medical Officer Era was in the colony's medical center, treating injured Velrin. She was a kind woman with gentle hands, but she had seen enough war to know evil when she found it. And she had found it in the Velrin blood samples. She walked into the colony leader's office and found the old Velrin male that Doyen had rescued. His name was Veltor, and he was trying to organize his people. Leader Veltor, Ara said, I need to show you something. She put a datapad on his desk. It showed genetic scans. Your people have been modified. Someone changed your DNA to make you weaker, less able to defend yourselves. Veltor stared at the scans. That's impossible. The Council would never. The Council did it. Ara said gently. I'm sorry. The old Velrin sat down slowly, his 4 hands trembling. We trusted them. For thousands of years we trusted them. I know, and they betrayed that trust. Back in orbit, Envoy Kessler's ship was approaching the Retribution. The envoy had finally agreed to come aboard and see the evidence. Captain Minho met him in the briefing room. Envoy Kessler was a Thesian, a species from a Class 5 world. He looked like a tall bird with 4 eyes and feathered hands. He walked into the briefing room with confidence, clearly expecting to lecture the humans about proper behavior. Minho didn't give him the chance. He activated the display screen and showed the envoy everything. The Kreth database, the list of approved harvest worlds, the communications between the Kreth and council officials, the genetic modification records. Kessler watched in silence. As the evidence piled up, his feathers drooped. By the end, he looked like he might be sick. "This cannot be real," he whispered. "It is," Minho said. "Your council has been running a protection racket. Strong species get protection, weak species get harvested. And to make sure the weak stay weak, you modify their genetics." "I didn't know," Kessler said. "I swear to you I didn't know, but someone knew. Someone in the council authorized this." The envoy nodded slowly. "The High Council. The founding species. They run everything. The rest of us, we just follow their orders." "And you never questioned those orders?" "You don't question the High Council. They've maintained galactic peace for 10,000 years. Minho leaned across the table. "This isn't peace. It's oppression. You've created a galaxy where the strong prey on the weak, and you call it civilization." Kessler looked at the human with his 4 eyes. "And what would you have us do? Allow chaos? Allow war?" "I would have you allow justice," Minho said. "Real justice. Where every species has the right to defend itself. Where no one gets to decide who's worthy of protection and who isn't. That's impossible. Some species are simply too weak to survive without protection. Then make them stronger. Train them. Teach them. Don't modify them into victims and then abandon them to slavers." Admiral Yuna entered the briefing room. She had been listening to the conversation from the bridge. She walked up to the envoy and handed him a data chip. "That contains all the evidence we've gathered," she said. "Every file, every message, every crime. We're broadcasting it on all frequencies across the galaxy. Everyone will know what the council has been doing." Kessler's feathers stood up in alarm. "You can't do that. It will cause panic, rebellion. The council will fall apart." "Good," Yuna said coldly. "It should fall apart. It's rotten, and what will replace it? Chaos? War? The council, for all its flaws, has kept the galaxy stable." "The council has kept the galaxy oppressed," Minho said. "There's a difference." Yuna crossed her arms. "Here's what's going to happen, envoy. You're going to return to your ship and leave this system. You're going to tell the council that Talonis 7 is under human protection. Any ship that comes here with hostile intent will be destroyed. We don't care if it's a slaver ship or a council enforcement fleet. We're staying." "The council has 300 warships," Kessler said. "You have 12. "Then they'd better bring all 300, Yuna said. "Because 12 human ships are more than enough to make this expensive for them." The envoy left the Retribution looking shaken. His ship departed the system quickly, rushing back to council space to deliver the news. Minho stood next to Admiral Yuna and watched the ship go. "We just started a war with the most powerful organization in the galaxy." "Yes," Yuna said. "We did. Are we ready for this?" The Admiral smiled. It was not a kind smile. "The council thinks we're dangerous because we come from a death world. They think we're violent because we evolved as predators. They're right. But they forgot something important." "What's that?" "We also evolved as protectors. Humans don't just fight for themselves. We fight for the pack. And we just adopted 4 billion Velrin into our pack." On the planet below, Commander Doyen was teaching Velrin volunteers how to hold a rifle. They were clumsy and scared, but they were learning. The Velrin had been bred to be weak, but they still had the potential to be strong. It would just take time. Time and someone willing to teach them. The Third Fleet settled into orbit around Talonis 7, weapons armed and shields raised. They knew the council would come. They knew a battle was approaching. But humans had never run from a fight they believed in. And they believed in this. The alarm woke Captain Minho from a deep sleep. He rolled out of bed and grabbed his uniform, dressing quickly as he ran toward the bridge of the UES Retribution. Red lights flashed in the corridors and crew members rushed past him. Something was wrong. When he reached the bridge, his communications officer, Hana, was already at her station. Her face looked pale in the glow of the screens. She turned to him with wide eyes. "Captain, we picked up a distress signal. It's bad." Minho walked to her station and looked at the data scrolling across the screen. The signal came from a planet called Talonis 7, far at the edge of known space. It was from a species called the Velrin. He had heard of them before. They were peaceful traders who never hurt anyone. "What does the message say?" Minho asked. Hana pressed a button and the message played. It was in the Velran language, but the computer translated it into human words. The voice was female, scared and crying. "This is colony leader speaking from Talonis 7. We are under attack. Unknown ships came 3 days ago. They are taking our people, our children. Please, anyone who can hear this, help us. We have no weapons. We have no defense. They are killing those who resist. Please help." The message cut off suddenly. Then it started again from the beginning. It was looping, playing over and over. Minho felt his jaw tighten. "How long has this been broadcasting?" 2 weeks, sir," Hana said quietly. "The Galactic Council received it 12 days ago, and they haven't sent help yet. They're still debating whether to send a rescue mission. Council procedures require approval from at least 8 member species before any military action can be taken." Minho slammed his fist on the console. 2 weeks. Those people had been suffering for 2 weeks while the council held meetings and took votes. He knew how the council worked. They moved slowly, carefully, always worried about offending the wrong species or breaking some ancient rule. "Hana, decode the full signal. Pull out any hidden data." She worked quickly, her fingers flying over the controls. After a few minutes, her face went even more pale. "Sir, there's video embedded in the signal." The Velran hid it in the data stream. "Show me." What appeared on the screen made Minho's blood run cold. The video showed a Velran village burning. Bodies lay in the streets. Creatures that looked like giant insects with 4 arms and metal armor were dragging Velran civilians onto ships. Children screamed for their parents. Parents fought with bare hands against armed soldiers and died for it. The video was short, maybe 30 seconds, but it told the whole story. This wasn't war, it was slaughter. "Who's attacking them?" Minho asked. "Scanning the ship signatures now," Hana said. She pulled up more data. "They're called the Kreth. They're a slaver species. They operate just outside Council space, so technically the Council has no authority over them." "Technically," Minho repeated. The word tasted bitter in his mouth. He activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. Battle stations. Prepare for immediate jump to hyperspace. Engineering, I need the engines ready in 10 minutes. Around the bridge, officers looked at him with surprise. They were supposed to be on a routine patrol, not rushing into a rescue mission. But nobody questioned the order. They had served with Minho long enough to trust his judgment. "Sir," Hana said carefully, "we haven't received authorization from command. We're supposed to wait for orders." "Those people have been waiting 2 weeks," Minho said. "How much longer should they wait? Another week, a month? Until the council finishes debating?" Hana nodded slowly. "I'll send a message to command explaining our actions. Make it clear this was my decision. If anyone gets in trouble for this, it's only me." But Minho knew that Admiral Yuna, the commander of the 3rd Deathworlder fleet, would understand. She was the one who had taught him that sometimes doing the right thing meant breaking the rules. 10 minutes later, the ship's engines were ready. Minho looked around the bridge at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for the order. "Helmsman, set course for Talonis 7, maximum speed." "Yes, sir." Course laid in. "Take us there." The Retribution jumped into hyperspace with a flash of light. The stars stretched into long lines outside the windows. And then they were moving faster than light itself, racing toward the edge of known space. As they traveled, Minho sent a message to the other ships in the 3rd Fleet. He explained what they had found and where they were going. He told them they didn't have to follow. This was his choice, his risk. Within an hour, 11 more ships dropped out of their patrol routes and jumped to join him. The entire 3rd Deathworlder fleet was heading to Talonis 7, 12 human warships, crewed by the species the galaxy called the most dangerous in existence. Admiral Yuna herself sent a message to Minho. Her face appeared on his screen. She was older than him, with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. "Minho, I got your report. The Council is not happy. They're demanding we return to our patrol routes immediately." "And what did you tell them, Admiral?" A small smile crossed Yuna's face. "I told them the message must have gotten lost in transmission. These old communication systems, so unreliable." Minho smiled back. "Yes, Admiral. Very unreliable. The Velran tried to hide their SOS from us," Yuna continued. "They broadcast on frequencies they thought humans wouldn't monitor. They're afraid of us. The whole galaxy is afraid of us." "Maybe they should be," Minho said. "But not the victims." "Never the victims," agreed. "When you get to Talonis 7, show those Kreth slavers why Earth is called a death world. Show them what happens when they hurt innocent people. And Minho? Yes, Admiral? Bring those Velren home safe. I will. The transmission ended. Minho stood on the bridge and watched the stars race past. In 6 hours, they would reach Talonis 7. In 6 hours, the Kreth would learn a hard lesson. Humans had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every day. They had survived ice ages and plagues. They had turned predators into pets and climbed to the top of the food chain through sheer stubbornness. They had built weapons that could crack planets and ships that could cross galaxies. And they had one rule that nothing in the universe could make them break. When someone cried for help, humans answered. The galaxy was about to remember why you didn't ignore that cry. The Third Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Talonis 7 system. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the Retribution, staring at the planet on the main screen. Even from this distance, he could see fires burning on the surface. Scan the area, he ordered. I want to know what we're dealing with. Hana worked at her station, pulling up tactical data. I'm reading 15 Kreth ships in orbit around the planet. They're cargo vessels, lightly armed. And sir, there are 4 more ships on the surface. They're loading prisoners. Minho felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. What about defenses? The Kreth have weapon platforms in orbit. Nothing that can threaten us. The Velren have no orbital defenses at all. Of course they don't, Minho muttered. The Velren were pacifists. They had never needed weapons because the Council was supposed to protect them. But the Council wasn't here. The humans were. Admiral Yuna's face appeared on the communication screen. She was on the flagship, the UES Vengeance, leading the fleet. Captain Minho, you have tactical command of the ground operation. I'll handle the orbital battle. The Kreth don't know we're here yet. Let's keep it that way until we're ready. Understood, Admiral. I'm sending Commander Doyen and his Marines to the surface immediately. In the hangar bay, Commander Doyen gathered his Marines. There were 200 of them, all wearing combat armor and carrying weapons. They looked dangerous, and they were. These were men and women who had trained in every environment Earth could offer, from frozen wastelands to burning deserts. Doyen was a tall man with scars on his face from old battles. He looked at his troops and spoke in a clear, strong voice. Listen up. We're going down there to rescue civilians. The Kreth are slavers. They're taking Velren people to sell them. Our job is simple. Kill every Kreth soldier we find and save every Velren we can. Questions? A young Marine raised her hand. Sir, what if the Kreth surrender? Then we take them prisoner. We're not murderers. We're soldiers. But if they fight, we end them. Fast and hard. This isn't a training exercise. This is real. People are dying down there while we talk. So let's stop talking and start moving. The Marines loaded into drop pods. These were small ships designed to punch through atmosphere at high speed and land troops directly in combat zones. They were uncomfortable, dangerous, and perfect for what humans called a hot drop. Doyen climbed into his pod and sealed the hatch. He checked his rifle one more time, then activated the communication link. All units sound off. One by one, his squad leaders reported ready. 200 voices, 200 warriors, all prepared to fight. Command, this is Doyen, we're ready for drop. Captain Minho's voice came through the speaker. You're clear for launch. Hit them hard, Commander. And come back alive. Always do, sir. The pods launched from the Retribution with a roar of engines. They fell toward the planet like meteors, burning through the atmosphere at speeds that would kill most species. But humans had built their pods strong, and humans themselves were hard to kill. As they fell, Doyen watched the tactical display. He could see the Kreth ships on the surface still loading prisoners. They had no idea what was coming. The pods hit the ground like thunder. Hatches blew open and Marines poured out into the Velren colony. Doyen was the first out of his pod. He took in the scene in an instant. They had landed in the middle of a town square. Buildings were burning. Bodies lay everywhere, Velren civilians who had been killed for resisting. And there, loading prisoners onto a ship, were the Kreth. The Kreth were insect-like creatures, each one standing 8 feet tall with 4 arms and chitinous armor. They carried energy weapons that could burn through flesh. They were strong, fast, and cruel, but they had never fought humans before. Doyen raised his rifle and fired. The magnetic accelerator launched a metal slug at hypersonic speed. It hit a Kreth soldier in the chest and punched straight through its armor. The creature fell, its mandibles clicking in surprise. Around the square, 200 Marines opened fire at once. The Kreth barely had time to react. They reached for their weapons, but human reflexes were faster. Humans had evolved chasing prey and running from predators. Their reaction times were measured in fractions of a second. The battle was over in less than a minute. Every Kraith soldier in the square lay dead or dying. The Velryn prisoners stared at the humans in shock and fear. Doyen lowered his weapon and walked toward the prisoners. They backed away from him, terrified. He removed his helmet so they could see his face. "We're here to help you," he said, speaking slowly so the translator could work. "We received your distress call. We've come to get you out of here." An older Velryn male stepped forward. His face was bruised and he was missing one of his 4 hands. "You're humans," he said. "The Deathworlders. Yes, and we're on your side. The Council told us never to contact humans. They said your species was too dangerous, too violent." Doyen looked at the dead Kreth around them, then back at the Velryn. "And yet we're the ones who came when you called. Where's the Council?" The Velryn had no answer for that. While the Marines secured the town square, Science Officer Sora worked aboard the Retribution. She had hacked into the Kreth ship's computer systems and was downloading their data. What she found made her feel sick. "Captain," she called out, "you need to see this." Minho came to her station. Sora pulled up files on her screen. The Kreth have detailed records of their operations. They've been raiding Velryn colonies for years. "And sir, they have council codes." "What do you mean?" "Navigation codes that let them pass through council space without being stopped. Security frequencies that keep council patrol ships away from these areas. And look at this," she pulled up a list. It showed dozens of species names, all marked with classifications. Next to each name was a phrase, "Approved for harvest." Minho read the list twice, hoping he had misunderstood. He hadn't. "The Council knows about this. They're allowing it to happen." "It's worse than that, sir. The Kreth have communication logs. They report their raids to Council officials. This isn't illegal piracy. It's sanctioned. The Council is letting the Kreth take these people." Minho felt something break inside him. The Galactic Council wasn't the noble organization it claimed to be. It was corrupt, broken, built on lies and suffering. "Copy all of this data," he ordered. "Every file, every message, every piece of evidence. We're going to need it." On the planet's surface, Doyen and his Marines moved through the colony, freeing prisoners and killing Kreth soldiers. The aliens fought back, but they were used to fighting unarmed civilians. Against trained human soldiers, they didn't stand a chance. By the time the sun set on Talona 7, the last Kreth soldier was dead. 4 of their ships were destroyed. The rest had tried to escape into orbit, but Admiral Yuna's fleet had been waiting. Not a single Kreth ship escaped. Doyen stood in the town square, now filled with rescued Velryn. There were thousands of them, frightened and hurt but alive. A small Velryn child walked up to him and held out her hand. She had 3 fingers and they were shaking. Doyen knelt down to her level. "It's okay now," he said gently. "You're safe. Are you really a Deathworlder?" the child asked. "Yes. The scary kind?" Doyen smiled. "Only to the bad people. To you, we're friends." The child thought about this, then hugged his armored leg. Doyen felt something in his chest, a warmth he hadn't expected. These people had been afraid of humans, but now they understood. Humans might be dangerous, but they were dangerous to the right people. That night, Captain Minho stood on the bridge and looked at the planet below. They had saved 1 colony, but according to Sora's data, there were dozens more colonies under attack. Hundreds of species being harvested while the Council looked away. This wasn't over. It was just beginning.